What if the solution to one of the most common yet unspoken male health issues wasn't found in a lab, but in nature? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We are breaking down a brand new study that looks at a plant-based approach to improving sexual wellness. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's start with just a number, 30%. Yeah, you heard that right. That's the staggering percentage of men. We're talking nearly 1 in 3 who experience premature ejaculation, or PE. So this isn't some rare thing. It's one of the most common sexual health challenges out there, which makes the hunt for good, effective treatments incredibly important.
Now, to be clear, the study we're looking at today zooms in on a specific type called lifelong PE. And the medical definition for that is pretty precise. It's when ejaculation consistently happens within about a minute of penetration, right from the very beginning, from a person's first sexual experiences. It's so important to understand this isn't a habit or a choice. It's a recognized medical condition. And look, the impact here goes way beyond just the physical. The researchers really emphasize the huge psychological toll it can take. It can absolutely crush self-confidence and lead to some intense stress, frustration, even causing people to avoid intimacy altogether. And that, of course, puts a massive strain on relationships. Which brings us to the core problem that's really driving this whole research project, what they call the treatment gap. I mean, if so many people are affected by this, why do the treatments we have now so often just fall short? Let's take a look. So, the most common treatments out there are a class of drugs you might have heard of called SSRIs. And while, yeah, they can be effective for some, they often come with this whole laundry list of side effects. We're talking everything from fatigue and nausea to a lower sex drive. And as you can probably guess, when you're dealing with all that, a lot of patients just end up stopping the medication. The research team behind this new study, they don't mince words. They state that the therapeutic armamentarium, which is basically just a fancy way of saying all the medical tools and treatments available, is, and I quote, not highly satisfactory. That one line just perfectly captures the frustration here, and why there's such an urgent need for something better. So, if the conventional stuff isn't cutting it, where do you turn? Well, these researchers looked to nature. They came up with a plant-based hypothesis, asking a simple question. Could a natural or phytotherapeutic compound give them the results they wanted, but without all those harsh side effects? And the specific plant-derived compound they decided to test? It's called EndEPR. The entire goal was to see if this very precise blend of natural ingredients could actually produce a real, tangible, and measurable improvement for guys dealing with this.
So what's actually in this stuff? Well, the whole idea is kind of like a multi-pronged attack on the problem, with each ingredient playing a specific part. You've got rhodiola rosa and folic acid, which are thought to help with serotonin, a key chemical involved. Then there's zinc for prostate health, and biotin, which contributes more to the psychological side of things. It's a really holistic approach.
Okay, so they've got their hypothesis, they've got their compound, now it's time to put it to the test. The researchers set up a prospective 90-day clinical trial to see what the real-world effects of EndEP would be.
And the way they did it was super straightforward, really. You can break it down into 3 simple steps. First, enroll. They got 91 men who were all diagnosed with lifelong PE. Second, treat. Every single one of them took 1 EndEP-IR tablet every day for 90 days straight. And third, measure. They tracked the results using a stopwatch for the hard data, what they call the intravaginal ejaculation latency time, and also used questionnaires to get feedback on things like control and overall quality of life.
All right, and this brings us to the moment of truth. After those 90 days of treatment, what did the numbers actually show? Did this plant-based idea actually work? The first major result was right there in the numbers. I mean, look at this jump. The average time went from just under 74 seconds before the treatment to over 102 seconds after 90 days. That's a statistically significant increase, which means it's a real, measurable physical change, not just a random fluke.
But, it's not all about the stopwatch, right? What really matters is how the participants felt. And this is huge. Over 60% of the men reported feeling like they had better control. That's a critical finding because it shows the treatment was actually impacting their personal experience.
And what about those nasty side effects from the standard treatments we talked about? Well, get this. In this study, only 4.4% of the participants reported any adverse effects at all. And the ones who did said they were mild, like a slight headache or a bit of nausea. Nothing that made them stop the treatment.
So what's the big takeaway here? I mean, the results sound pretty amazing, right? But as with any good science, it's really important to look at the whole picture, to understand both the strengths and, yes, the weaknesses of how the study was designed.
So, in a nutshell, the study's conclusion was that EndEP delivered on two key fronts. It improved the stopwatch time, and it improved how patients felt about their sexual lives. And maybe the most important part, it did all this with an excellent safety profile, with very, very few side effects.
Now, to get a truly balanced view, we have to look at both sides of the coin. The strengths are pretty clear. Almost everyone stuck with the study, which is awesome, and the side effect rate was incredibly low. But the researchers are also very honest about the limitations. A big one is that there was no placebo group for comparison, and the 90-day follow-up period is pretty short, so we don't really know about the long-term effects just yet.
And all of this brings us back to our final big question. This study, even though it's preliminary, really suggests that a phytotherapeutic compound can be both effective and really well tolerated. It opens the door for a lot more research and leaves us with a compelling thought. As we search for better, safer treatments for these really common conditions, is it possible the future of sexual wellness is hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be found in nature?
You know, what if the solution to one of the most common yet unspoken